click the computers and create $26 billion just like that. Then they wonder why the economy is weak. They say that monetary policy is complex and very hard to understand. But it really isn't. If you ever played the game of Monopoly, you know that Monopoly money is not hard to understand. If you take two Monopoly games and put the money for both sets in, all you do is push up prices, right? And I've found over the many years, talking about monetary policy in particular, whether I talk to grade school, high school, adults, college kids, or whatever, it seems like they really understand about monetary policy. It's not all that complex, but it's very, very important. And of course, that has been one of the subjects that I have been dealing with for so long, and motivated me in my early years to run for Congress, because the Austrian economists, the free market economists, had predicted in the 1960s, as a matter of fact, even earlier than that, Henry Hazlitt predicted when Bretton Woods was established, it wouldn't work. And he was right, the rest were right, and it did happen in the early part of 1971, on August 15th, Bretton Woods broke down. So it really confirmed that Austrian economic theory was absolutely right, and the Keynesians were absolutely wrong, and then I was motivated then to start speaking out on that issue. And I found not too many people interested. But I did talk about the Fed a lot, got to Congress, talked about the Fed a lot, and still not many people paid any attention. And I brought that subject up, a couple years ago in a campaign. It was a national campaign, and to my surprise and to my pleasure, there were a lot of you who cared and understood and knew exactly what was wrong with the Federal Reserve, and I am so glad that we now have that as a very important issue to deal with in this country. People at college campuses, they hear this as a very important subject. I'm also very pleased when I talk to young people on college campuses that the issue that attracts their attention the most is the issue of war and peace. We do the polling. The polling came out today and said what the American people care about is, right now they care most about jobs, and I can understand that, and they should, because they have to worry about taking care of their families and paying their bills, and they are very much worried about it. Very often in the past you've heard people saying, well, that people vote from their heart, but you shouldn't vote from your heart, you should vote from your head. I've always argued that people vote from their bellies. And if they have an empty belly and they're concerned, economic policies do carry a lot of weight. Well, the job we have as members of the Campaign for Liberty is to take the concept of liberty, make it very important, make it a moral issue, and turn it around to say that if you do care about your belly, that's the only way you can feed people, is have freedom and property rights and sound money. That's how you take care of people, if you care about them having jobs and having a high standard of living. This is why the concept of liberty is so important, because then what comes out of it, our economic system that comes out of it, is therefore the economic system that to me is the only humanitarian system around. The campaign a couple years ago was a big surprise to me. I was invited to run by many of you, and they called, and I was reluctant. Believed that very little would come of it, a little would. I always figured that the few things I've done over the years, little good always comes of it. But I was very reluctant. I was finally talked into doing it. I went and did it, but to my surprise, the reception for our views and sound money was so overwhelming. But to me, the most exciting thing has been that when the campaign ended, I thought, well, I'll just go back to being that unknown congressman from Texas. And I will go and do what I thought my job was trying to set an example and, and do this very bizarre thing and looking at every single bill through the eyes of the Constitution and vote against it. Yes! That was generated, during the campaign, would die off, but let me tell you, it really hasn't. And like it was mentioned in my introduction, like I said, I powerful message, and we do know that this message does generate a lot of interest and a lot of activity. But the young people are looking at this and they're saying that there is something rotten with the system, something wrong, and we're inheriting this mess and we have to do something about it, and they know where the answers are. The answers are found in the American tradition, the things that we believe in and we've understood. The tradition of independent thinking, personal liberty, and of course, in order to achieve our peace and prosperity, we have to change our foreign policy. A lot of young people come to Washington and come through the office. In the old days, that would happen on occasion. The parents would come in, they'd have some teenagers or others struggling along, and they'd sort of insist the kids meet their congressman, that sort of thing. Today, it's different. The young people come in dragging their parents in. Watch YouTube more than the parents, but they'd sit their parents on and say, you have to look at this stuff, and bring it in. But a lot of them got interested in the campaign. But what surprised me, and which pleases me still, is that they will come in the office, and I meet them around the country, and they'll say, I said, when did you get interested, and what was the subject? That's usually what I ask people. And now they'll say, well, a year and a half ago I saw this, or 2 years ago I saw this, which means that there's a lot of people still, coming in our direction as part of the momentum. And that's because people like you are out there spreading this message, and the campaign for liberty is out there. And of course, the real clincher has been that so much that we have expressed concern about, like the economy, all of a sudden, has collapsed, and nobody's believing that stuff they pass anymore. Nobody trusts Keynesian economics. Nobody claims they want to be a socialist. And so that when you offer them something else, all of a sudden they say, you know what, this is different, and this is what we have to do to hear and move along with something that so far hasn't been tried. But this, to me, is the wonderful thing about the momentum and the way things have continued. This, of course, has created a lot of anger in the country. And a lot of it is very positive. Now they're at the point where they can say, there's something wrong, the economy is collapsing, the wars are lasting forever, we go to war without the declaration, and it goes on and on. And now they're wondering about what we're going to do about this, and of course, that is what the answer is going to be. It's going to come, from the Campaign for Liberty. So the challenge we have is, how much influence are we going to have with the people in this country today who are unhappy with their government? And believe me, more than the majority of the American people are unhappy with the government. They think it's simply, well, the Democrats did this, put in the Republicans. Republicans do this, put in the Democrats. We know there's something more to it than that. There's a lot of anger, a lot of sincere concern, a lot of people suffering, and they want something new and different. Our job in the Campaign for Liberty is to promote the cause of liberty in order to compensate for all the bad ideas that have been floating around this country for so long. This is not an easy undertaking. I'm convinced we're further along than I had anticipated we would have been if you'd have asked me 3, 4, or 5 years ago. Things are moving rapidly. We are making great progress. But the big question is, they're recognizing what's wrong, and there's a lot of anger and concern. But what are we going to replace it with? Who will put the ideas out there? What do the people stand for? We have these spontaneous meetings. We had a few of those during the campaign, Tea Party, meetup groups, and all of this, and it was spontaneous. And I thought then it was generally pretty well agreed upon what we all stood for. Today, it's very healthy in the sense that there are more than ever, but because it has grown so rapidly, it's miscellaneous. Sometimes all these groups don't agree on everything. I don't think it's necessary that happens. The one thing we don't want is to have somebody say, these are the 10 points, everybody's